Jake and Fulton coming to you on a Tuesday. We are inching close towards the NFL draft. The Royals did not score as many runs as their opponents for what seems like the 200th straight day. And we'll be talking plenty of Chiefs. Lots of draft discussion coming up today. We're going to talk with Matt Derrick on all things latest for the Kansas City Chiefs. The NFL. Monster news right as we got off the air yesterday. We will get into all of that. We will talk a little Royals baseball. And what about the AFC West? Who do we not want the Chargers, the Broncos, and the Raiders to take? What would make you go, damn, when their name comes up? We haven't talked a lot about the division, so we will get to that today as well. Let us know your thoughts. 785-272-9429. Always open for your thoughts. You can check us out on our YouTube page. Very easy to get to. Go to youtube.com. Search Sports on 580. Check us out on our website, 580www.com. And let us know your thoughts. We do have Royals baseball coming up tonight. Does it really matter?
No.
Does anything really matter?
No.
We're just a bunch of floating particles in just an expansive universe in a galaxy that's next to another galaxy that's next to another one that's a lot bigger than ours. So really, does it matter if the Royals are playing or not? Fulton, my God.
Last night was just a punch below the belt.
You're just, they are wearing you down. We'll talk Royals coming up.
Do we have to?
Yes, we do.
Oh.
Now we have to because I am worried now. I'm worried about you. I am. This was kind
understandably
of,
so.
This was kind of like you in the end of May, early June of last year, where I looked at you and Fulton, you looked healthy, you looked spry, but your eyes said
it showed the deep pain in the deepest parts of my soul.
Yeah, so we'll get to some Royals.
We're
here,
already there.
and that's not good.
No, it's not.
We'll get to some Royals baseball coming up. And also we got to talk about a specific concert goer. And
I got jokes to get off.
Well, I don't have jokes.
I do.
I've done the jokes. I am now on. I want to know if this is what people do. Am I abnormal?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to get to that coming up in just a little bit. But the big news yesterday, Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, swapping first round picks, 13 and 15. And the Jets are going to give up pick number 42.
Blue 42.
And a first round pick next year if Rodgers plays 65% of the snaps.
Which you have to imagine he will, but that's a fair contingency plan for the Jets.
So boils down to, would you rather have Rodgers for 1 or 2 years? We don't know yet. It could just be one, and it could be done. And pay a ton of money to a 39-year-old quarterback. Or you move up 2 spots, get a second-round pick and a first-round pick. Now, if this is in a vacuum and that's what it is, I would take the draft picks. Because I don't think you are getting the MVP Aaron Rodgers. Now, we will find out this year Because if Rodgers does play well and he is slinging it around, then it was clearly the Packers stunk last year. Rodgers didn't care, and they didn't have a good enough supporting cast around it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Jets have some good wide receivers, okay O-line,
and a really fine defense.
A pretty salty defense. So we will find out really if Rodgers can still play.
Mm-hmm.
Now, put the context to this. If you are the Packers, this is this is highway robbery. It's not just a good trade. It is a great trade. It is not just a great trade. It is an incredible trade because he wasn't going to play for the Packers.
No,
he wasn't. So therefore, the Packers then lost all the leverage with Aaron Rodgers against 30 other teams. But because Aaron Rodgers is like, I'm only going to play for the Jets. And Jets fans and Jets brass and Jets players were all like, yeah, we got Rodgers. Yeah. Now, the leverage flipped back in favor of the Packers because the Packers now, they didn't need to trade Rodgers.
No, they weren't. They had set themselves up where they could eat all that money, park him on the bench. Like, the Packers were set to where if he doesn't leave, they were like, all right, we'll just put him in the garage. Like, we don't care.
And now...
But because the Jets had signaled so much.
And Rodgers did as well when he went on the Pat McAfee show. Like, I'm only going to play for the Jets.
It made it... Because, like, that was the funny thing when this was all, there was the back and the forth, and everyone was down, like, so many people tried to act like the Jets had all the leverage. The Packers lost nothing.
Whoever thought that the Jets had leverage
were idiots.
You're a fool.
The team that has signaled that every move they're making is to try and acquire one individual player that is not on their team and they must trade to acquire, they don't get leverage.
No.
Like, the people can tell them, like, well, the Packers said they weren't going to have Rodgers play for him, and Rodgers was going to play for Green Bay, so Green Bay obviously had to move him. No, they didn't, because they could financially take it. Like, they could have their entire offseason be what it is. They could draft who they wanted to draft and just tell Rodgers, fine, you want to play? Okay, we're at that point. Go sit on the bench and don't play football then.
Yeah.
We have Jordan Love. You are no longer QB1. I don't care if you're here or not.
They were going to Derek Carr him the last couple of games,
essentially,
except for the whole entire year.
That's what they were going to do. So, like, the Jets truly were the team of just, like, they showed their entire hand 3 months ago.
Yep.
And that's why the Packers were willing to drag this out to get pretty much exactly what they wanted, because they knew they were fine with keeping him. It was the Jets who needed him.
Yeah. This is a terrific haul.
It's a great trade for the Packers. Great trade.
And they move up 2 spots. So the Jets were picking 13th. The Packers were picking 15th.
Little flippity-floppity.
Flip. Now, why is that a big deal? Because the team ahead of them, the New England Patriots, need exactly what the Packers want. So the Packers get to trade up ahead of the New England Patriots.
Now they can now don't worry about if New England takes one of their guys.
And so I think that is a big deal. And if you don't, the difference between pick 13 and pick 15, if you want to move up 2 spots, you're going to have to give up a 3rd round pick. So that's another top 100 player. So this is a great trade for the Packers.
Oh, it's fantastic.
They had already moved on. The Jets get their guy, and they are fully boat all in this year. Here's the only way, to me, I can justify this if I am the Jets. Aaron Rodgers has to play 2 years. If he plays 1 year and then's like, nah, I'm done, or if he plays 1 year and sucks and hangs them up, this is a disastrous trade for the Jets. If he plays this year and next year, then it is justifiable. You are getting a quarterback for a 2nd round pick and a 1st round pick. And you're assuming that you're going to make the playoffs and you're going to pick around 26 or later.
So that way, that first you're also sending to Green Bay
Yes.
is not, you don't stumble into what the Broncos did, and you're sending a first away, and that first becomes a top 5 pick.
Because if this turns into that Rodgers is a pumpkin, and he turned into Peyton Manning last year.
Well, then Green Bay is about to get a top 10 pick out of this deal.
So that to me is why this is such a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I hope happens. Okay. I hope the Packers take Jackson Smith and Jigba with pick number 13. They need receiver help. They got Christian Watson. And if you pair Christian Watson with Jackson Smith and Jigba, I think that's 2 good wide receivers for the next 4 years. I think that is a great situation. I'm sorry, Romeo Dubs, whatever his name is. You ain't that guy, pal. You ain't that guy. But I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is a player who saw that, hey, I don't want to risk anything this last year. He played in like 4 games. That's it for Ohio State. And I think he was more concerned about just getting through the year and not hurting himself. And I think he's a good wide receiver. If you ask Chris Olave and you ask Garrett Wilson and you ask CJ Stroud, every one of them in interviews said, who's the best wide receiver out of you guys? And every single one of them said JSN. So I want the Packers to take JSN because I think it makes them better. But also, I want them to take Jackson Smith and Jigba with pick number 13 because Rodgers always wanted them to draft a wide receiver high when he was with the Packers. And now they do. And the only reason they do is because they're getting that pick because of trading Aaron Rodgers. Like, I love the irony of that, don't you?
For me, the Packers, there's 2 guys I think should be in their minds at 13. Is JSN, I agree, or is Dalton Kincaid?
I think it's too risky to pick Dalton Kincaid.
See, I don't think it is.
At that level. One, because he's a lot older. He's 24. Okay, he's a big dude. But I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is a really, really good wide receiver.
I do, but here's my thought process on it. Just because while we're here, I think you can't go wrong with either player. The Packers need a tight end. Their tight end one right now is Josiah DeGuara. You're in a not great spot if that's your tight end one.
I would do this. I would draft Jackson Smith and Jigba at 13, and then I draft the cat out of South Dakota State with the 42nd pick. Boom.
Fair. But that's what I was getting to, though. Like, I say take Kincaid at 13 because you're getting a true pass-catching tight end, which gives Jordan Love a blanket over the middle, a fairly reliable safety valve option, which young guys need. Then this receiver class is weirdly deep in the middle. Pick 42, you're going to probably have a couple of good options for a wide receiver at 42.
Would you rather have Kincaid and Marvin Mims or Jackson Smith and Jigba and Jake Laporta?
Sam Laporta is his name.
Same guy.
You know, not same guy, but
same guy.
I don't know who Jake Laporta is. But no.
Jake Laporta.
Who is the see if that person exists.
No, it does exist.
Okay. But no, give me Kincaid and Marvin Mims. Give me Kincaid and Marvin Mims. 10 out of 10. If you told me that that's how my first 2 picks could be, I would say, all right, let's do it. Cash in now. Because if you could take something like Kincaid and Marvin Mims, you have a tight end over the middle who can do so many good athletic things. More importantly, also, Kincaid can line up at multiple spots, too. He's not just an inline tight end.
Yeah.
And so I think you give Jordan Love a good, big, middle-of-the-field receiving option, which the Packers desperately need. And then in your second-round pick, you can still get a reliable wide receiver to pair with Christian Watson. That's where I lean, is I think the tight end class is just more top-heavy.
Okay.
So that's where I'm more willing to go to my second-rounder to get my wide receiver, because I think there's just more depth in the middle meat of the wide receiver pool. That's my thought process.
If you are the Jets now, does this move put you ahead? Where does this put them? Does this put them behind?
Second best team in the AFC East.
So it puts them ahead of the Dolphins, behind the Bills?
Yeah.
So I liken this right now. The AFC East is going to be talked about the way that the AFC West was talked about this past offseason.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Where it's like, oh my gosh,
it's going to be a bloodbath. Look at all these teams. And then you have New England chirping. But it's like, yeah, because
New England is the Raiders.
Okay. Miami is the Chargers. The Jets are the Broncos.
Yes, correct.
And then the Bills are the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Like, because I put the Jets over Miami at the moment because I think even washed up Aaron Rodgers with that defense. If they could win as many games as they did last year with Zach Wilson and Joe Flacco and Mike White, washed up Aaron Rodgers can get them more.
He might not be washed up, though.
And he might not be. Who knows?
Yeah.
I think the ship has sailed. I'm on. That wasn't not caring. That is, I think the boat's passed.
I think he's cooked. Shades of Russell Wilson.
Yes, I think he's cooked. I think he's been put over an open fire.
I think the Packers,
but I could be wrong.
Last year, I think it was just a combination.
Yeah, and
it was
could be.
Rodgers didn't have his buddy Devontae Adams there. They started out bad. Didn't care. He was whatever. He before he went into his darkness retreat, he was like, "I'm retiring," and now
and then his darkness retreat, he saw visions of throwing passes to Garrett Wilson. I don't know what he means.
So that's
to me. But and then the reason I put the Jets above the Dolphins at this point is the Jets have better defense. And if we're going to play games on the margins here, the Jets can at least stop points. Because, I think the Dolphins, I don't know what the Dolphins offense is going to be because I think it got real gimmicky last year. And when teams started learning how to just jam up the speed, they really struggled to do Jack Diddley squat. Plus, I don't know what Tua's going to be like with all the things he's dealt with.
So that is monster news, and it will shape up the draft a whole bunch with those that switch picks.
Interesting.
Yeah. Man, if you're in the NFC, you are who it is the Eagles and the 49ers.
Congrats to the Detroit Lions. You're new winners of the NFC North.
See, I'm not buying that. I think the Vikings are still going to win that division. I'm not sold on Detroit.
That's fair.
I think Detroit has a chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But until somebody does Justin Jefferson stay healthy the entire year?
He does, and therefore I see your point.
Yep.
I see your point. Yep. No, I see your point. I get it.
Coming up next, we are going to talk about money spent at concerts here on Mic'd Up. Rounds in the viral world. Morgan Wallen had a concert down in Oxford, site of Ole Miss, and he didn't perform because he had voice issues 5 minutes before he was set to come on. So like all the on or the previous acts, the lead-in acts,
his openers had gone.
They're good, and he's about ready to go out there, and then all of a sudden 5 minutes before, it's like, yeah, his vocal cords aren't working. That's not how vocal cords work, by the way. As an individual who talks for a living, I can tell you that
you figure out if your voice ain't working a lot earlier.
Than that. Well, there is a person on social media who says this: Morgan Wallen, since you're offering refunds, here's our itemized bill for you. Wow. Hotel, $560. 2 tanks of gas, $80. 4 tickets, $1,600. Now they're getting that refunded. Her outfit, $120. Husband's outfit, $218. That's right. $218 for the husband's outfit, $120 for the woman. Oxford Grill House, $235. The Cracker Barrel, $40.
Only $40 at the Cracker Barrel, man.
Los Parleos, $45.
Okay.
Rebel Rags, because they wanted to go there. They spent $629 at Rebel Rags, which is like the gift shop at Ole Miss. Drinks at the concert, $220. Morgan Wallen merch, $235. This couple and or foursome here, because they bought 4 tickets, spent a grand total of $4,000 for this weekend to go see Morgan Wallen in total. It's like a weekend getaway.
Mm-hmm.
Do people spend this money on weekend concerts?
So,
am I look at this and I say, you're nuts.
So here's my my personal thought process here, because I don't go on like getaways like this. I'm not about that life. If I'm ever like going on a trip, which this seems like a trip kind of thing, you budget out the money you're willing to spend, and that money is what you spend. I'm expecting, if you're spending $4,000 on a thing like this, you budgeted $4,000. So I don't feel bad for you. And if you didn't budget $4,000, you're bad with money.
I cannot believe they spent $4,000 on a Friday and Saturday.
I'm still trying to figure out they spent $625 at an Ole Miss gift shop.
They treated that Ole Miss gift shop like it was Augusta National. How much? What can you buy at the KU merch shop or the K-State, back at Barney's?
I don't know.
How, like, what was that? Like,
I want to pull up Ole Miss's gift shop now and see how can I get to $625.
Like, that's $80 for a hoodie. We buy 2 of them. Okay.
That's $160.
Yeah. You buy 4 of them. Like,
I got nothing, man.
What are you spending it on? Is it like a glass mirror with Ole Miss on it? Like,
I got nothing, brother.
But then, like, just the combination of everything. $4,000. $4,000.
If you're spending $4,000, you better budget it out. That $4,000 coming out of your pocket.
If you spend $4,000 on a weekend like this, you ain't worried about money.
No, you shouldn't be.
So then
why are you spending $4,000?
I am just floored at the amount of money spent.
It's
Who
absurd.
spends $218 to go to a concert? I'm cheap, apparently. Incredible. Coming up next, we're going to talk with Matt and Derek here on Mic'd Up. All things the NFL draft with Matt Derrick. You can follow him on Twitter at Matt Derrick, ChiefsDigest.com. Matt, what's the buzz around Kansas City like right now with the draft here about 2 days away?
Yeah, I think you're starting to get the excitement. Definitely. I mean, I've driving by and sending me pictures and videos of everything going on downtown with the stage set up. And they're starting to kind of the preview, so you're getting a little bit of that. And celebrities are starting to hit town, that are going to be here for the draft. So it's going to be a pretty big deal. I know the road closures and everything really kind of started today. So I think you could definitely say that there's some draft excitement going on, Casey.
All righty. Where do you think the Chiefs end up going at pick 31? Do they select at 31? Do they trade up? Do they trade back? What's your gut telling you?
I mean, I think all options are in play. I really, truly do. I would think that there's a reasonable chance that they stay in pat at 31. I mean, I don't know if it's the majority, but maybe the plurality decision, I think, is that they would stay at 31. Moving up, I think, is absolutely a distinct possibility. Probably less so moving back. I mean, it's certainly possible. I think the Chiefs want to take a pick in the first round. But taking an offer that's just too good, I mean, I think they have to consider it. But once again, I mean, I think we go back to, what's going to be available, who's going to be falling down the board, that, or if there's a team that wants to be able to get up to get that fifth round option. That's really the key at, moving out of 3-1. And we've seen before with the Chiefs and, the 2020 draft, there's no guarantee that kind of setup will come to fruition. So, we'll see, but I think more than likely than not, they'll stay at 31, but I will be on the guard starting at like 21 to see if they're going to trade up.
In this situation, what position would you want your guy to fall? Like last year, they needed cornerback help, right? I mean, their starting corners were L'Jarius Sneed, Rashad Fenton, and DeAndre Baker. They needed corner help. McDuffie falls, right, all the way to 21. If you could choose the position that falls to 21 or 22 or 23 this year, which position would you think the Chiefs would be most excited about if their guy at a specific position falls? What position would that be, you think, that they'd be excited about most?
I think it probably depends on which part of the building and which coaches you're talking to about which ones that they want. I think it's two. I mean, I think if the right defensive lineman fell, and I'm not even necessarily talking about a defensive end. I mean, it could be a defensive tackle. But if you're talking about the right player that started to fall, I think that would be intriguing. But to me, I mean, I think the Chiefs would be best suited, and I know there's people in the building that would absolutely agree with this assessment that they're hoping that an offensive tackle does.
Really?
And not necessarily that it's a left tackle or a right tackle, but necessarily I think they would prefer either one. I mean, that's what the Jawan Taylor signing was really all about, was preparing to go either way. But if they felt like that there was a plug and play tackle that fell to them, I think that would be the dream scenario.
So you think that really the tackle spot, that surprises me, because maybe I'm reading what the Chiefs are doing all wrong in free agency, and that I think they like Lucas Niang. I think Lucas Niang, with 2 years under contract, they're ready to roll with Lucas Niang. I guess I'm surprised that people in the building think that, hey, you know what, if a tackle fell like McDuffie did, that's what they would want. I would figure it'd be, maybe one of the wide receivers. I'm with you on D line, like if a Miles Murphy falls, or if somebody there that a Nolan Smith falls, that they could get him. That makes sense. But I am surprised maybe that it's the O line.
Well, and Nolan Smith I think it's to me like a dream scenario. That's the guy that they would really love to fall, and I don't think he will. But all of a sudden, hey, if that guy was available at 21, I think they would definitely start making some calls. But yeah, I mean, the tackle spot. The only thing that's really the tackle is that, even though I think that you're right, there's plenty of people in the building that think that Lucas Niang can play in this league and is at that position. He is just so unknown because he hasn't played. He wasn't healthy last year. Even when he came back last year, even though Lucas will tell you that, hey, he was as close to 100% as he could get, the coaches and the organization would tell you that he needed more time, and not having been pressed into service, and that they didn't need him in the second half of the season was important for his recovery. So I mean, they're optimistic about him. But it was pretty telling to me that Brett Veach, in our conversation with him last week, pointed out the fact that, hey, Jawan Taylor was the guy that they wanted to go with, in part because if they can draft a tackle, he can play either side.
Do you think them going hard after the free agent wide receiver market and trying to sign Juju, trying to sign Odell, trying to trade for DeAndre, is that at all tea leaves going, hey, they are not happy with the wide receiver room?
Yeah, I think they definitely want more depth, but I think it's also they want something at the top. I mean, they do feel like at this point, I think that they've got the numbers, they've brought some people in, so they feel like that the length of the room is not a problem. It's the impact at the top, and that's why you've seen. I mean, they have certainly brought in some guys and encouraged some guys to go work out with Mahomes. I mean, they're trying to test out this market and everything. And let's talk about the other surprise, which would be, I think they're going to be looking at trades during the draft, because there's going to be receivers that are available. There's going to be some teams that, just like last year with A.J. Brown moving during the draft, there's probably going to be a veteran receiver or two available for draft picks. And I think that the Chiefs are going to be involved in every single one of the stations.
Do you look at them as trading and signing, not trading, but signing and drafting a corner high? I wonder about that, because they said that this draft is so deep at corner that if some, corner falls to them at pick 95, it would not stun me if they decide to draft that and then try to trade L'Jarius Sneed.
I mean, there's anything like that's on the table. I mean, you're right. I mean, that's something to consider. And I go back to, once again, that as happy as you are as the Chiefs as with that rookie class from last year's defensive backs, you're going to learn a lot more about them this year when they're going to get tested in new ways, and offensive coordinators are going to be trying to find their weaknesses on film and tackling them and approaching them from different directions. So even though you feel pretty good about that group, you just don't know it yet. And yeah, I mean, there are, as Brett Veach loves to say, there are pockets throughout this draft. And the cornerback group, I mean, there's going to be multiple pockets. So there's going to be depth in, I think, even the middle to late round.
We're talking with Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. Follow him on Twitter at Matt Derrick here for our Chiefs Insider. All right, the tight end spot. Travis Kelce's not going to be Travis Kelce forever. If like a Dalton Kincaid or a Matthew Meyer fall down to 31, do you think the Chiefs look into that, or are they happy? I mean, they've got 4 NFL tight ends right now. What do you think would they do if a tight end like one of those two falls?
Yeah, and and I'll throw Darnell Washington in that conversation too, because the Chiefs have shown some interest in him as well. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that I have thought for I think this is the 4th year in a row that I'm going to be thinking the Chiefs are going to be drafting a tight end significantly high, because you've got to be prepared for a life without Travis Kelce. I mean, he's going to be turning 34 this year, and as good as he has been, you can't count on that forever. I mean, and injuries you would even think are going to pop up at some point and be a challenge. And that to me is outside of Mahomes is the most indispensable player on this team. And to me, are you prepared to play an extended period of time without Travis Kelce? I don't think this team is. So tight end is my sleeper position for what the Chiefs might do with their first pick, and I'll say it that way because I don't think they would hesitate that if they have a top 15 tackle or tight end rather that falls in the draft, I don't think they'd hesitate for a second to take him in the first round. Question is there maybe one of those guys that they feel like that they could trade back and get early in the second? And be able to pick up some more resources. That's a possibility. So that to me, tight end is definitely the sleeper with what I think the Chiefs could go with their first pick.
All right, let's go to the defensive side. Would they rather have an interior guy or an edge guy?
I think they're pretty open to both. Although if you really look right now at where they're kind of constituted roster wise, I think you've got to get a tackle at some point. I mean, you're bringing back Derek Nottie, or you've got some young guys, but you've lost Colin Saunders. I mean, you've lost some depth there, and I don't know that they've really have had anybody really claim a starting position alongside Chris Jones. And then let's face it, I mean, even though both sides have expressed optimism, you're going to have to worry about the possibility you don't have Chris Jones in the future because he's not tied up long term. So that to me, I think that. Even though edge is the flashier position, I think tackle is probably the greater need right now, worth taking a look at, especially in this draft, because I do think that there's some interesting names maybe in the 2nd and 3rd, 4th round that might fit in pretty well with this team. Edge-wise, I mean, there's still options on the table. I mean, we'll see. I mean, there's always those veteran guys that'll make their decisions closer to camp that don't want to have anything to do with OTAs. And the Chiefs, they've had some guys here that would fit into that category. They're still available. So they've got 2 starters right now that they feel good with. The question is, do you feel that way at tackle? I mean, if the Nottie is your starters, and I guess you do, but Turk Wharton's coming off an injury. Mm-hmm. They just don't have the same depth there. So I'd be more intrigued.
So look at just the draft. This year they signed 10 of their draft picks. Do they have room to even draft 10?
That's the tricky part. I mean, yeah, is there room to fit 10 guys onto this roster? It would be hard. I mean, to me, I think that I'd have a hard time really carving out the 10 right now. I mean, I think you can get some, but and the way that the NFL is these days, I mean, it seems like it's even easier and easier to get some guys onto the practice squad that you draft. I mean, Najee Johnson, they were able to do that with last year, and he ended up on the practice squad for a little bit. So the later you draft them, sure. I mean, your first 4 rounds, I mean, those guys need to make the roster. Those need to be solid picks. But that's also what makes me believe that the Chiefs are probably going to be pretty involved in the trade market, because if those 10 picks allow you to upgrade and get a better selection, or you're able to acquire a veteran, I mean, that's what those picks are there for.
The Chiefs had, what do we count, Fulton? Four starters from the rookies, essentially.
Basically 4.
With Karlaftis, McDuffie, Watson, and 3, or we say 4, whatever.
We said Karlaftis, we said McDuffie, we said Jalen Watson, and Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah, so 4 rookies essentially started at the end of the year for the Kansas City Chiefs last year. How many rookies, let's say they have a great draft class. I don't know how many rookies can even start this upcoming year just because there's not a lot of spots available.
Yeah, I mean, you look offensively, an offensive tackle could start immediately.
Correct.
That's probably the only position on the offensive side where you'd say that. I don't think a rookie receiver could come in and start immediately. I mean, that's going to be somebody who's be coming off the bench. But that's probably really it. Defensively now, that's a different story. I mean, defensive tackle could certainly start. I don't think an edge would start. I mean, you feel pretty good there. I'm not. You're right. I mean, hey, safety, is that an option? No, I think I'd be almost surprised the Chiefs taking safety as deep as they are at that spot. That was probably about the only two spots you could say. And I mean, maybe there'd be something that could surprise us. And obviously, injuries can always pop up. That's what happened with the corners last year. But I'd say, yeah, I mean, those are the only really two positions that I think that you could reasonably say a rookie could come in and start immediately.
And that's what makes this draft so unique to me, is that it might not get the same love as last year's draft, but that's because there's so many spots available last year to start. I mean, you had to have a corner, you had to have a wide receiver, you had to have an edge rusher, and the corner was so depleted. You had two guys who ended up starting. If they draft a running back, he ain't starting over Pacheco, but Clyde wasn't the guy. So I kind of look at this draft as more of a depth draft for 24 as opposed to 23.
Yeah, and that's the way some drafts are. I mean, sometimes you're in a position where you're needing to draft kind of for that year. But when you're really good teams, I mean, usually you're drafting at least a year or two ahead. And that's why I think that if you want to see which positions the Chiefs are going with, really look and see where the holes are in 24. Where are some guys that they need? Where do they need depth? Where do they need to have insurance? And that's why, I say, receiver is going to be one of those positions: offensive tackle, defensive line. Maybe not the secondary, but linebackers for sure. I mean, hey, Willie Gay is not signed up, and do you have any questions about Leo Chanel? Is he a full-time, linebacker at this point with his coverage skills? You don't know. So, I mean, and that's even maybe a sleeper pick right there at linebacker, because the Chiefs do have maybe some short-term and long-term needs at that spot.
Alrighty, reasonable dream scenario. Okay. So I don't, Will Anderson would be the dream scenario. Chiefs ain't going to get Will Anderson. Okay. Reasonable dream scenario for the Chiefs. What would that be in your mind? If somebody falls, they trade up, get him at 23, or falls to 31. What's a reasonable dream scenario?
And I mean, to me, I've been saying, I think Broderick Johnson, the tackle, is probably the best possible scenario. That's because I feel like that's at least a position and a player that should be a top 15 across the board. That, I could see in the right scenario, gets kind of overlooked and maybe drops down a little bit. I mean, that's a player that's available at 21. I mean, you're right. There's a lot of other spots that I just don't know if they're going to fall. And I would say receiver, but again, it just seems like there is such a division about receiver in this draft and about, how good they really are. And we don't really know. So, I don't know if the Chiefs would be willing to move up for a receiver. Maybe a Quentin Johnston, because that guy does seem to be pretty good, but will be willing to move up for Zay Flowers. The consensus around the league doesn't seem to be like that there's one of those guys that you'd go up for. So I think it'd be tackle, but maybe the Chiefs will probably move up for a receiver on Thursday night and make me look completely silly.
Alrighty, who do you have mocked in your latest mock draft? Who are you going with? The Kansas City Chiefs select who at pick 31?
Well, for all of this, for the one I'll have out later today at ChiefsDigest.com, it's Zay Flowers going to the Chiefs in the first round. So, but that's Zay intact. So
that's if they stay. You think Zay going to fall to 31?
That's the crazy thing. I have heard everything 1 to 4 receivers might go in the first round, and even the people who say there's only going to be one receiver, sometimes they don't even agree on the one, which I think is kind of crazy, because I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is pretty clear cut one guy. But after that, there's some real division on these receivers this year, and I think there's a lot more depth in the middle round too.
All righty, 2 for the road. Last 2 I got for you. We know the worst pick Brett Veach has done. What's the best Brett Veach pick?
The best Brett Veach pick. Gosh, that's starting to be really tough because he's made so many good ones. But you know what? I'm going to go with Trey Smith. I still think that just taking the chance and being the contrarian when nobody else was taking that guy, that was a risk. I mean, there was plenty of people who thought that Brett Veach was crazy, and that has turned out to be an absolute gold mine of a 6th-round pick.
All right, is there some nugget that you would tell people to keep in mind about this year's draft?
I think that the Chiefs are going to be pretty involved in the trade market. I mean, I think that there could be some comings and goings of veteran players. I think they could be moving up quite a bit. I don't think they're going to end up coming out of this draft with 10 players, at least 10 rookies. We'll see what happens, but I think that being in Kansas City, I think this draft is going to be a very Kansas City heavy draft.
All right, where are you going to be for the draft? Are you going to be at Arrowhead?
We'll see. I mean, that's the most likely place for me. Because everything with the Chiefs will be at the facility as far as, their draft setup and everything. So, yeah, I will not be downtown, period. So, and unless I get grounded and I'm working from home, I'll be out of the facility.
Well, we will be out at the Westin at Radio Row. So if you fancy to do something, that's where we'll be at Thursday and Friday, just to let you know. Matt, we appreciate the time. Enjoy the draft coming up.
Hey, you too. Have a great time down there. It's going to be exciting.
Matt Derrick, ChiefsDigest.com. Zay Flowers. Like it.
I would take Zay Flowers.
I would too.
I wouldn't complain about that at all.
I would too. Get a timeout. Coming up next, we'll wrap up this noon hour. Concert goer. I'm just so fascinated by this. All right. What is to you? If you looked at this list, what's the most egregious spending? Is it Hotel 560, gas, tickets, his outfit?
It is $629 at Rebel Rags.
Okay.
How? I have an honest question here. How does someone spend $630 at a school gift shop?
Now, let me ask you this. Okay. There are 4 tickets in here. So this might be combined by 4. Okay. So let's say the $630 divided by 4 is $157.
That honestly is more understandable. If you load up a little bit, things are higher priced. You know, a hoodie and a couple t-shirts, you're at $156.
Okay.
That's understandable. But if it's just the 2 of them, like I think the math tracks to be, at least on that particular item, how do you spend $630?
It's a lot of money. A lot of money. Coming up, we'll talk Royals baseball here on Mic'd Up. On this Tuesday, thank you so much for joining us. Draft 2 days away. What are the Kansas City Chiefs going to do? We'll get into the draft coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. What do we not want the Chargers, Broncos, and Raiders to do? What's the one pick that you're like, oh, I hope they don't, because they're in a good spot.
Yeah.
Raiders pick 7th.
Mm-hmm.
Broncos, they don't pick for a while. That's what makes
they have a long while.
That's what makes me happy. They don't pick for a while. And if they wouldn't have traded Bradley Chubb, they really wouldn't be picking for a while.
Yeah.
So we will get to that coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. We got a little odds makers. Fulton, I'm interested.
Oh no.
Well, we're gonna get to that one special question.
Trust me. Spoiler alert: the number's probably gone up.
Yeah. We'll get to that. We will get to that. Let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429. Check us out on YouTube. Very simple, very easy. Also, our website, 580wibw.com. That's 580wibw.com. But the Royals. I said the series against the Angels was very Royals-like.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, the Royals pulled a Royal themselves.
They did.
And you never want to go full Royal.
Nope.
And what we know, wow, they pulled a Royal. You don't want a Royal, like if you're watching another game, like, I don't know, say the Lakers versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Maybe
they also roiled.
The Memphis Grizzlies, they roiled.
They roiled.
They fully roiled. They did. So what that means is, starting out, hey, you do something good.
Yeah.
Royals are up 1-0. But you didn't quite do what you should have done when you had the chance.
Could have been a lot better to set yourself up for later.
Runners at first and second, one out, you don't get anything. So you're up 1-0, but you're leading, you're feeling good. Then you lose a couple spots, give up some points, give up a big run.
Yeah.
In this situation, the Royals gave up some runs, and now they're down. But then
battle back.
They always do is they try to give you hope.
Mm-hmm.
And they do. And they tie it up. And it's 4-4. And in this case, it's even worse for you, Fulton, because your boy is the one who drives in the run. Isbell ties it up. Massey actually got on base. And it's 4-4. And you bring in your big gun, right? Aldis Chapman.
Hadn't given up a run this year.
Looking good. Gets an out, then he gives up a walk, then a single, and then an absolute dinker.
Cue ball shot off the tip, 30 miles an hour off the bat.
And I'm not even mad at Vinny P. He wasn't going to get the runner even with a good throw.
No, it was going to be hard with a good throw. I'm not mad at Vin. That's a tough play.
Yeah. The whole, the headline, though, when you read it, it said, Diamondbacks earn win off throwing error. And I'm like,
it's like, no,
misleading.
that, even a perfect throw is probably not going to get him there.
Yeah. It wasn't like Lucas Duda.
Yeah, it wasn't
Duda, seat,
completely whiffing on where average throw gets high.
Yes. No, he wouldn't have got him. It was a perfect little dinker.
Yeah, just was a well-placed swinging bunt.
And they give up the lead in the 8th inning, and you're just thinking, this is not happening. And in the 9th inning, you don't even
sniff. You get Jack Diddley and squat.
You don't even sniff it, back-to-back Ks, and you lose 5-4. That is, you don't want a Royal. And your Memphis Grizzlies went full Royal. They did. They roiled that game. Memphis had the lead.
Then they,
then they gave it up, but then they
battled back. We go to, you go to OT after a late bucket by LeBron where you're like, God! And then they absolutely don't show up in overtime. No, they did it too. It's just.
Yeah, they went Royal.
And last night's game for the Royals, and it goes beyond just last night's game. I did what any person does when they're down in their feelings and they shouldn't. I just went to airing my grievances on the internet. Here's my name about the Royals. We talked about the rotation, or when this year began. And a couple weeks into the season, we're like, man, this rotation is not elite, but it's serviceable. I went through this last night. 4/5 of this rotation is a complete question. You have one reliable starter, and his name is Jordan Lyles. Which, that tells you something.
Fulton. What did you just say?
You have one reliable starter, and it's Jordan Lyles. Because when Jordan Lyles goes to that mound, I know what I'm getting. 6 innings, 4 runs. It's not great, but I know what is happening every time he touches that hill. Every time he goes to the mound, I know what I'm getting. Zach Greinke can't pitch away from Kauffman Stadium. And that started last year. That isn't a bug anymore, folks. That's a feature. Zach Greinke away from the K is bad. That is just a stone-cold fact at this moment in time. Brad Keller doesn't know what a strike zone is. He's walked 11 in his last 8 innings. 11 in 8 innings. And Brady Singer can't stay out of the middle of the plate. Brady Singer's looking like 2020 Brady Singer out there. And then you don't have a fifth starter. It doesn't exist. 4/5 of your rotation, if you're Kansas City right now, is absolute hang on to your butts when they touch the mound. Because you don't know what's happening. And while Jordan Lyles is far from perfect, I at least know if the Royals bats show up in a game for Jordan Lyles, they could win the game. I can tell you that because for 6 to 7 innings, the opposition will score only about 4 runs, and Lyles will pitch those innings. So if the offense shows up, they can win the game. Because against the Angels on Sunday is exactly the same situation. The offense didn't show up, so they lost. But if the offense showed up on Sunday, they would have won the game. I at least know what Jordan Lyles, what I need to happen outside of my pitcher. The other 4 spots, I ain't got a clue. The offense will score 11 runs and you still lose. The offense will score 2 runs and you somehow win. I don't know. Like tonight, I got no idea what's going to happen. The Royals offense could put up a 10-piece off Arizona, and they could still lose 14-12 because Brady Singer gives up 8 runs in 3 innings, and the bullpen implodes a bit.
Well, I'm going to go.
Or they could win 3-0 because Brady throws 8 shutout innings.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
It probably won't, but I don't know what's going to happen.
Well,
that's my point.
I think right now we do know what's going to happen. I think we do know.
They're going to lose?
They're going to lose.
Yeah, because they're a bunch of losers.
And more than likely, Brady's not going to pitch well, and the offense is not going to produce. That is, I think you're still optimistic, Fulton, because you say we don't know what they're going to do. Judging by a 23-game sample size, what we're going to do is, on more so than average, is that they're going to give up more runs and they're not going to score a lot of runs because that's what they have done now through 23 games.
They left 10 on base last night. 10.
But that is what they do. That is who they are.
And it's frustrating. And that's what I've always been about. Because, like, while I can be a person that is, I'm going to be encouraged by positive signs. Like, Vinny Vasquencino had another multi-hit game. Vinny's looking great.
Oh, you mean my projection of Vinny P?
It's looking fantastic.
Top 10 hitter?
Buddy, he might be top 5.
Yeah.
One, if the Royals need to extend somebody, get Vinny's agent on the phone 3 days ago. Like, get that man locked up now because that price is going to keep going way up. But, like, that's going to make me happy. Oliveira's homered last night. That was nice. His defense is so poor, he needs to hit really well.
Yeah, I was gonna say that needs to change.
Not encouraging that Bobby Witt Jr. in a clutch moment just gave an at bat away. Swung at 2 sliders that weren't even close and then stared at a fastball. Like, that is an unencouraging sign. But, like, Michael Massey had another, couple good swings, got a couple hits. He looks like since he took a reset, he's starting to figure some things out. That's a good sign. Kyle Isbell with another clutch hit. That's a good sign. Like, there are little positive signs that I personally do still take as like, all right, cool. Mm-hmm. But dude, these losses just hurt. And when they're this way too, like, it's one thing when they get blown out and it stings, but you know what? You can check out and resign to the loss in the 4th. But you're right. When they go full Royal and you're like, oh, they tied it in the 8th. We're all so excited. This is amazing. And then in the stupidest way, they yak it away. It's so painful. Like, this team has pieces of actual talent. They exist. But then they got just some problems. And, like, here's the thing. I'm at the point now, like, teams have got the book on Brad Keller, and it's just don't swing, and he'll probably walk you because he cannot get anyone to chase. I think I'm back to I'm like, it'd be nice to maybe see if maybe Brad would be best in the bullpen, really giving him that full, like, just put him in there. The problem is you can't.
Because you can't walk anybody in the bullpen.
Well, not even that. Who puts in the rotation? Who starts?
Jackson Core.
You have he's a full-time reliever in Omaha now. They're done starting him. He's full-time reliever.
Daniel Lynch.
He's not back till mid-May.
Chris Bubich.
He's out till 2024. Are you seeing the problem the Royals are even in right now?
Jonathan Bowler.
Still working his way back from injury. Hasn't looked great.
Frank Mozzicato.
He's in low A.
Maybe they should have went and signed somebody.
Bingo. Like, that's my thing with this Royals team is it's so hard for anyone to want to focus on or at least try to look at the few nuggets of positivity that make you go, man, this team honestly could maybe make some good strides. Because not just because they're losing. That in of itself is bad. It is how they are losing, which just makes your brain only fixate on the absolute pain it caused you.
Okay.
And my thing right now for the Royals is their rotation is now their number one issue. Like, I really think this offense, it's not been high run totals, but look at their last 3 games. 11 runs, 3 runs, 4 runs. Like, 11 runs will win you a lot of ball games, but like 3 runs and 4 runs, that's fine.
4 runs should win you 75% of your games.
It should. Like, so like I'm losing my question. Like, the offense still, guys strike out more than I like. There's still contact issues, and there's a massive problem leaving guys on base. So there's still questions on offense. But my entire fear right now is, what are they throwing out for a rotation? Because, like, you're going to throw out Lyles, and we know what he is. You're going to keep throwing out Greinke, and I just want to figure out why he cannot pitch away from the K. Because it's not just ballpark dimensions. That's not the problem here.
No,
it's not like he's just getting bit by fly balls and home runs. Like, it's just, there's other things at play. But then what, like, Brady Singer has to pitch well tonight. If he doesn't, 3/5 of your rotation is just a gigantic, I'm going to throw some at the wall and see what sticks. Because, like, Wednesday, they're probably going to go for the opener. And I this isn't the greatest idea. I honestly wish they'd call up Austin Cox for Wednesday. Because he's 26. He started well in Omaha this year.
Is he on the 40-man?
No, but you can put Chris Booch on the 60-day. He isn't on the 60 yet. Like, you put Chris Booch on the 60-day because he ain't pitching this year. You're going to eventually do that move. You bring up Austin Cox to put him on the 40-man. See what you got. It's better than throwing out an opener and Ryan Yarbrough.
Yarbrough.
Whatever. You're correct, but still, whatever.
All right.
I'm just so...
I know, Fulton.
I'm beaten down,
You
man.
are, and I...
What does that tell all of you out here when I'm getting beaten down?
The Royals are 5-18 on the year.
Yeah,
they're
they
now
are.
1-5 to start this 22-game stretch that we thought this is going to...
We thought they could be 500.
Yeah. Well, they're 1-5 right now.
Yeah.
And they take on the Diamondbacks. Singer goes today, and then you face Gallen tomorrow. So Gallen's probably going to get beat. You're staring down the barrel of 1-7 to start this 22-game stretch. Fulton, we might be calling it Monday.
Buddy, I want to make it very clear. If they only take, like, if they start, like, if they get swept by Arizona, buddy, I'm ready to call it at that.
No, I'm not ready to call it at that because they still have got a series that is doable.
But they're facing a Minnesota Twins rotation that ate them up last time. And I mean, ate them up. And you're facing all 3 of those guys again.
You're facing Pablo Lopez.
You're starting with Tyler Mahle on game 1, but then you go Lopez, Gray, Ryan. And Sonny Gray's ERA is sitting under 1 right now.
Lopez, Gray, Ryan.
Like, 3 of those games you're facing the guys that absolutely carved you up last time. And maybe the offense will be a little better because, honestly, the guys are playing better than they did offensively opening weekend. But you know what's not doing as well as they did opening weekend? The pitching staff. You won't have Zach Greinke at Kauffman Stadium. Jordan Lyles was okay the first time. Maybe he does it again. But you ain't getting Brad Keller to do what he did the first time. And Brady didn't face them. Maybe Brady does. I don't know. I'm lost.
There's a very good chance that Monday, May 1st, they didn't even get a chance to make it to the 11th.
Nope.
And it's Oba.
And it stinks and it's brutal and it's awful.
Yeah.
But that's what they are. Like, their offense is now and that's I think the worst part. The offense is now actually figuring some things out,
Mm-hmm.
and they're starting to get it's not perfect. They're starting to get there, but right as that happened, the wheels have come flying off of this pitching staff.
It's not good.
I mean, flying off. So right as you kind of start fixing one problem, good luck fixing the other.
We should call that the Royals Part 2.
It really is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Coming up next, everyone loves the list here on Mic'd Up. Everyone loves the list on a Tuesday. The draft is inching closer. And Fulton, we are going to go with today best players in this draft. Now, a lot of it determines, time and setting and where you go and all that kind of stuff. But these are the guys that you think will perform the best. Okay,
guys that we think,
yes,
no matter where they go, are going to be studs.
And I will tell you this: I was way higher on last year's draft than this year's draft.
Yeah, they're definitely some of these guys where I think that they are worthy of being in my top 4 of can't miss dudes, but they're not dudes that I think are going to maybe be superstars. I would say that much. Number 4 for me, I'm going to go with the best receiver in this draft, Jackson Smith-Njigba. I don't know if he's going to ever be a top tier, top 5 wide receiver in the league guy, but among the guys you're going to be able to pick a wide receiver, he's the one I'm surest about what he'll be.
Number 4 for me, offensive tackle Paris Johnson.
Oh, okay.
I think Paris Johnson's a good offensive lineman. I think he's He reminds me like a Tristan Wirfs type of deal. I think he's be a good one.
Number 3 for me, it's my guy Dalton Kincaid. Like I think whoever gets him is getting a top tier tight end.
Number 3 for me, another offensive lineman, Peter Skoronski.
Yeah. Honorable mention for me was Skoronski. I think he's going to be very nice.
I think he's good.
Very good pick. Number 2 for me, it's Will Anderson.
Okay.
And maybe in other years, he's a number 1 overall pick. He should be the first defensive guy off the board.
Yeah. Number 2 for me, when I saw it, it was the second greatest wide receiver performance I have ever seen behind wide receiver for Washburn against Pittsburgh State. He was really good that year. Jackson Smith and Jigba. He went for like 300 yards against USC. It was incredible when Ohio State
great
played.
Performance.
Second best wide receiver performance outside of that November Saturday at Yager Stadium. At 81 put on a show. Jackson Smith and Jigba, number 2.
Number 1 for me is very simple. I don't care about height measurements. I don't care about weight measurements. Bryce Young.
You think
is
like Trevor Lawrence?
Yes.
It's like Josh
I think
Allen.
Bryce Young is a franchise altering quarterback.
Really?
Miss me with his physical height and weight crap.
Okay.
Mentally processing the game. It is Bryce Young and then a 50,000 mile chasm to this other quarterback.
So what do you say about if Caleb Williams and Drake May were in this, he'd be the 3rd quarterback taken?
I put him right up there with Caleb Williams.
Really?
And listen,
okay.
Caleb Williams might get the nod for me because I have to then go to physicals.
Mm-hmm.
But they both are just great guys. But yeah, Bryce Young can't miss. Panthers, if they don't take him, are morons.
Number 1 for me, I'm going to go Will Anderson. I think his speed off the edge is really good. I really, really do think that. I'm going to go Will Anderson, best player in this draft. Coming up next, Brandon Dorzinski will stop on by for a little crosstalk. Two o'clock hour, we will get to the AFC West. Who do you not want? The Chargers, the Raiders, and eventually when the Denver Broncos picked, who do we not want them to take? We'll get to that coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. We got odds makers. We're going to find out just how down bad Fulton really is when it comes to the Royals, because we're going to ask him the same question we ask him every odds makers. What is the percentage that the Royals lose 100 games?
There's about to be a spike on the chart.
It's been as low as 1%, as high as 5%. We'll see where that's at. Right now, we welcome in Brendan Dworzynski of 580 Sports Talk. You can hear Brendan after this show from 3 to 6 here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW. All right, Brendan, what are the odds that the Royals lose 100 games? They are 5-18 right now. So if you are on pace, guy, they're losing 100.
So right now they are winning. What would that percentage be? 5 out of 23. They are winning 21.7% of their games.
Yep.
Spiders territory.
You want to extrapolate that over 162 games, folks? They'll win 35 games this year.
Okay.
I'm going to hot take. I'm going to break our rule. I'm going to give you the hot take. They will not win 35 or fewer games this year. Okay. They will win more than that. Yeah, they're going to lose 100 games. 48%.
48%.
Yeah. And by the way, I also gave a take on 580 Sports Talk 2 weeks ago, maybe, that the Royals will finish September with a winning record. And I still believe it. And they're still winning 100 or losing 100 games.
Why are they going to? Do they play like bad teams in September or something? Or
no, I think they're going to be better by that. It's almost a full year of new coaching, new management. I think the roster is going to look different because anyone you can get anything for who's not named Bob or Vin is going to be traded. Or MJ. I don't know his full name, so I can't give him
Mervil.
Oh, Merv! Oh, I didn't know that.
He is, I believe, technically, he is Mervil Jr.
Oh,
because his dad is Mervil Melendez.
Oh, he is Merv Melendez.
As for
now.
what I have ever learned, and I don't know how official this is, the MJ is for basically Mervil Jr. I don't think his middle name is actually a J. I believe it does stand for Mervil Jr., but his first name is Mervil.
Yeah,
I call him
Mervil.
Merv. I nail his internet. I many times when I'm rooting for him at my own apartment, we'll yell, "Let's go, Merv."
It is Mervil Samuel Melendez.
Okay, well, until he picks it up a little bit and gets fully healthy and starts to hit a little bit more, he is now Merv Melendez until further notice.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Glad I could give you that knowledge.
Okay.
And I think they will be better in September than they are in April
48%.
and May. I'm going to give it 48% chance they lose 100 games.
Write that down.
Okay,
Brendan,
I'll note it.
Brendan, 48%.
Brendan's at 48%
on April 25th. Okay, all right. I wanted to get to write that down. Write that down.
Maybe Vinny Pasquantino on his own will keep them from losing 100 games.
Hey, my bold prediction this year was that Vinny Pasquantino would be a top 10 hitter in the majors.
Dan's was that he will be the Royals All-Star this year, and
that's looking good.
Looks like a pretty good pick.
At this rate, he's going to be top 3 in the voting for being a starter at first.
Yeah. Did really well. We're going to talk about Vinny a little bit at 3 o'clock today.
The Pasquatch.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a better nickname than Italian breakfast, which is, what does that mean?
Stupid. No, it's dumb.
Exactly.
It's just dumb.
Like, what is it?
I can't stand it. No, what it is that they had another pudgy guy named Billy Butler who was there, and they called him Country Breakfast, and then apparently all fat people eat breakfast. And
Vinny's not even fat.
They
He's
went
just like a big dude.
He's just a large man.
so was Billy Butler, and so
Not
they were
Billy
like,
Butler was fat.
No, Billy Butler was chunky.
but I'm just you can connect the dots though. Now is that Vinny is, I don't know if you know this, but he is Italian, and so they thought Italian breakfast. Yeah, it's fun, No, it's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Fulton, speaking of Billy Butler.
Oh no.
I'm going to need you to give me some audio over here. We've got
I got you, Chief.
This is one of my favorite clips. This is actually circa 2012. This is a Billy Butler scouting report. Take a listen.
He's fat.
I haven't played that clip in a long time. Speaking of, Breland Speaks had 3 sacks in a USFL game the other day.
Yeah.
Speaking of, he's fat.
He's a late bloomer. Late bloomer.
Late blooming onion, maybe.
Late
Good
bloomer.
Lord. Got him.
Taking a little bit to get there, but he's a late bloomer. He's going to be back in the NFL, and he will end up performing excellent and proving Brett Veach that it wasn't a bad draft pick. He just took him 5 years too early.
Right.
Yeah, so we're going
Okay.
Sure thing.
For our list today, we did best NFL players in this draft.
Okay.
So who you think? Well, the answer
Top prospects in this year's draft.
So
To give you a more concise way of wording that.
what is the guy that you think
Can't miss.
is the best player in this draft, and we'll go to what team? Because fit matters. Fit does matter.
Yeah, it does.
There are a lot of good players who go to the Texans and the Raiders and, those teams.
Well, there's not good players to go to the Raiders. They can't draft.
Who stink,
The best player in the draft is Will Anderson.
See, that's why I said Will
Yeah.
Anderson. I think he's going to make and he could be really good. Like if Will Anderson falls to the Lions and you pair Will Anderson with Aiden Hutchinson and who's the other cap that they got there? The fourth. Either way, that's a good. I think the Lions are going to be in good shape if Will Anderson falls that far. Like if Jalen Carter's the first defensive player taken, I will be very surprised.
Who are you referencing with the Lions?
The Lions have another decent defensive lineman.
They really don't.
They don't.
No, they got Aiden Hutchinson. Were you thinking of Aleem McNeil or Isaiah Buggs? Charles Harris? They do not have anyone else. In fact, their defensive line's really bad outside of Aiden Hutchinson.
You put Will Anderson there. Will Anderson should be the first player taken on the defensive side. So who's the second best?
The second best overall player in the draft?
Yeah, you think will have the better career?
Man, that's a good question. That's a really good question. Part of me, there's a little part of me that wants to say Peter Skoronski.
He's my third
guard from Northwestern.
He was my third.
Man, there's a part of me that is really interested in putting him right there. Give me Jalen Carter. I'll take Jalen Carter.
Not worried about all what's happened here, you know?
We're just talking about best football player.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in terms of talent, yeah,
no, who's going to have the best, when you look back on it, wow, that guy's career was the better one.
I thought it was most can't miss prospect.
No, who's going to have the best career? When we look back on it.
Goalposts sometimes get moved, Brendan.
Who's going to have the best career?
Yeah,
okay, that's Skoronski.
Yeah. So that's what I want.
Yeah.
I think Will Anderson is going to be a stud.
Yeah, I think so too.
I really do. That's why I've got him number 1. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is really, really good. I think he is going to be very good. I
think so too.
I know what he did last year was not impressive.
He didn't play, though. He was hurt all year.
And I think that was more so cautious because I don't think he wanted to risk anything. Because what I saw in the Rose Bowl was incredible.
Greatest individual wide receiver game of all time.
What else did we say, Fulton?
There was some cat against Pitt State who also had a pretty good one.
Yeah, back in 2007, he was really good. Dominated Pitt State.
He brought it up himself, dude. Don't lump me in with this.
So
I just want you to know I did not.
Smith
I was not a part of that.
I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is really, really good. So I think he's going to have a fantastic career. If Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson are both, and who's the wide receiver coach for Ohio State? Hartline. Brian
Hartline.
Sure. Even Hartline, Olave, and Wilson last year in an interview with Kirk Herbstreit, or is it 2 years ago? It was 2 years ago. They said, who's going to be the best pro? And every one of them went and pointed at Jackson Smith and Jigba. It was not even, they didn't even have to mull it over. It was that guy. So I think he's going to be really good.
And you know what the funny thing is? He pales in comparison as a prospect to his teammate.
Marvin
Harrison Jr. might be, if he's healthy and all that, he might be a top 5 pick next year.
Yeah. So that's why I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to be really, really good. Really like Jackson Smith and Jigba. So who do the Packers take?
Moving up makes me think it's more likely they take JSN. It's kind of how I feel. But my original pick was Lucas Van Ness out of Iowa. I still think that's very reasonable. And Packers have a decent number of holes. So they need an edge. They need an edge badly, in fact.
Yeah.
So that would make some sense. If Nolan Smith from Georgia was still there at 13, I would take Nolan Smith from Georgia.
I think he might be.
Oh, see, I don't. I think he's going to go top 10.
Okay.
His athletic testing was crazy. He's a little small.
You heard it here.
6'2",
You heard it here. You heard it here.
I mean, if he's there, I'd be stoked with that. But no, the fact that they moved in front of New England, who also needs receiver help badly, I think that makes it a little bit more likely to take Smith and Jigba.
I don't think anybody before the Packers will take him.
Smith and Jigba?
Yeah.
You could make an argument, depending on how their first pick goes. I could see an argument for Houston at 12 because you want to make C.J. Stroud your new quarterback comfortable.
Give him a top tier pass carrier.
Well, I know Will Levis is going number 1 now, apparently.
Yeah. No, but specifically, if Stroud was the pick, I think it makes a lot of sense to go get Smith and Jigba.
I'd agree with that, Brendan.
But also, by the same token, you just hired a defensive-minded head coach. One of the best players in franchise history, defensive guy, just led a great defense. I can't imagine they leave the first round without at least one defensive player. That would surprise me quite a bit.
They got options.
So I think Houston, there's a slim chance of it. I mean, if Chicago really wanted to say our entire offseason is all about just making things easier for Justin Fields, I guess you could see the argument. I wouldn't do that. I think that'd be dumb.
They need offensive line help.
They need
so
more blockers
bad.
so that Justin Fields can run.
Yeah.
All right.
Or a pass rusher.
Okay. Yeah. The Packers, the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Where are they in the AFC pecking order now?
They are no higher than 6th.
So they're behind.
So it's the Chiefs number 1. The Bengals are number 2 still. I would put the Bills 3rd. And then your next group is, assuming Lamar is back, I'd say the Ravens, the Chargers, the Jags, the Dolphins, and Jets are all in. It's a 5-team group.
I think the Jags are ahead of all of those teams. And the reason simply because
they got the quarterback.
Look at their division.
For the record, I said that yesterday. I said I put the Jags 4th yesterday. And I put the Jets behind them.
And I think the fact that you can count on their quarterback production a little bit with Trevor Lawrence in another year under Doug Peterson's system, and then valid points be made. The AFC South is
Their
a pile
schedule-
of garbage.
Their schedule's good.
Like, it's the Jaguars and then 3 steaming piles of excrement.
Colts. I think actually I am so excited for this draft because this is the first time that this draft is no one knows after pick number 1. Well, Will Levis says he's going number 1, but
No,
I think
Reddit says Will Levis is
Yeah,
going number one.
I'm not.
And I'm not
trusting
buying
at
that.
all.
okay, all right. I'm just pointing out. Just
I know,
throwing
I
out
know.
what I'm hearing.
We're
That-
not shooting the messenger
That
here.
Reddit account, I saw that this morning. I looked it up. That Reddit account, 6 days old. I thought it was new today, but all of its posts came from today. One was a fake rumor about some sort of superhero movie, and the other one was, I know Will Levis, and I know where he's getting drafted. The same guy, I believe, also claimed he knew Baker Mayfield, which I, again, doubt.
What happens at number 2?
Mhm.
A lot of people, is the smoke screen? Are they taking CJ Stroud? Are they taking somebody else?
I still think it's Stroud.
And then what do the Colts do at number 4? Do the Cardinals take somebody at number 3? Do they trade? I'm so excited for the top end of the draft. Where does Anthony Richardson go?
Yeah.
You know, everybody's talking about him going number 4, and he might fall all the way to 25. I'm excited to see that. Dream scenario that's realistic. Okay. I know that doesn't make any sense.
No, I know what you mean.
You know, Will Anderson falling to pick 31. Not realistic. Unless for some other reason a video of him smoking out of a gas mask.
That's legal in most states now. For many of them.
Like,
Yeah.
Not even Will Anderson to pick 22.
Hell, he could be doing it at in the green room and it'd be legal.
Okay.
Actually, yes.
Alrighty. What's the dream scenario?
At 31?
No, just for the Chiefs. Like, if you think the dream scenario is if
XYZ falls to 24 and you draft
falls
24.
falls to 23 and you're like, oh, we got to trade up and get that guy.
Now you make a phone call.
What's your dream realistic scenario? Skronsky falling that far is probably not really realistic.
Well, plus Minnesota would just take him.
Yeah, they would need.
That'd be
help.
funny. Kid who grew up a humongous Green Bay Packers fan
Goes
who
to the
lived in
Vikings.
Chicago and ended up playing for the Vikings. That'd be pretty funny.
Oh, Tennessee North turnaround.
His grandpa played for Vince Lombardi.
Wow.
Won a bunch of championships in the 60s.
So you're telling me is Skronsky to the Packers at 13?
Brother, I would be all about it. Man. See, that's tough because there's so few blue chip players in this draft.
How many first rounders? 15?
Yeah, probably 15-ish. I would say around that number. I would say that you end up with Kincaid falling to 25 or so. Yeah, if you end up with Kincaid at 25.
Not worried about his health?
No, I'm really not. I think a lot of health concerns, honestly, are overblown when it comes to the draft. Like, yes, he hurt his back, and he's old for a rookie. I get that.
Brett Veach doesn't like old rookies.
No, and that's why that one seems somewhat unrealistic because he's not 21 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of the player and the fit, like, yes, he hurt his back. That's not great. He hurt his shoulder a little bit at the end of last year, too. Is his back still hurt? Like, not to be totally dehumanizing to these guys, but like the Chiefs are going to make a 5-year commitment right off the rip. Like, are you worried about his long-term back health within the next 5 years? If the answer is no, then who cares?
And then more importantly with the Chiefs, that we've seen them be very comfortable with medical reports on different players because they feel confident in what they've got.
Yeah.
Like,
because apparently Rick Burkholder bullies them into feeling better.
Yeah,
so.
apparently. I don't know what it is. But I mean, like, Trey Smith, the entire thing on him was his medicals, and the Chiefs, took advantage of that to take Trey so late. But it's, they've never seemed to shy away from medical issues if they believe it is not a problem. So if the Chiefs were to take somebody like Kincaid, I would then go, well, then I assume his back is fine because I trust the Chiefs in their evaluations. We're like, nah, it's no big deal.
Yeah,
Give them the benefit of the doubt.
I think in terms of fit, that's probably up there. But I don't know. I mean, I'd be open. If I'm the Chiefs, I'd feel pretty good about any of the guys who are going to be there. I mean, unless you end up with, all the tackles and both Flowers and Johnston are off the board, which I personally have a hard time seeing. You're going to end up getting a decent player. Who do you want?
Oh, Will Anderson.
You can't have Will Anderson.
Who do you want that's realistic, Jake?
Fulton, who do you want?
He wants Dalton Kincaid.
I want Dalton Kincaid.
guy.
I think the Chiefs, and this my thought was spurred on by you and Dan, of it should be pass catcher, not receiver anymore, really. And you pair Kincaid's receiving profile with a guy like Kelsey and other things, I think that Chiefs offense gets a lot of nice weaponry to it. So no, my dream is Kincaid falls to like 25. I don't care about age or health or nothing.
They stay put or trade up or trade back.
Trade up.
You think they're aggressive?
Yes.
BE aggressive.
Yes. Yeah, I think they move up. Unless there is a scenario in which they trade back, and that's if someone really wants Hendon Hooker at 31. Which, if someone really wants Hendon Hooker at 31, you should also try to sell them some beachfront property in Arizona when they call you to make a deal, because that team is dumb.
You know what's funny is if California does fall into the ocean and Arizona does have beachfront property, those people who bought that are going to be really smart.
They would be.
Very, very smart. Alrighty. My dream scenario is take an edge in round 1 and take Marvin Mims at pick 63.
You are a big Marvin Mims guy.
I like that a lot. I like Mims a lot too. Yeah. The only problem is this is a crappy draft for tackles.
Correct.
Yeah.
And there's, who is it? Blake Freeland from the BYU kid, 3rd round-ish. I know Jesse Newell's been all over Carter Warren from Pitt in the 4th, 5th
Something
round.
Like that, yeah.
But outside of those two, I don't think there's anyone who's more than depth after like pick 40. Like Anton Harrison's probably the last guy I would say that he could be a starter fairly quickly.
No, I said edge.
No, I know, that's my point. Like,
if you don't get your tackle in the first round.
See, I'm okay with Lucas Niang.
Lucas Niang played 9 offensive snaps last year.
That's okay. I'm around with that. I'm okay with that.
I understand you are. I'm just telling you, like, if it's August 23rd and the first player we heard cut is Lucas Niang, my response would probably be, wow, it took that long.
No,
like, I don't.
I'm all right with that. This is where we differ.
That's fine. The Chiefs have given me, since he was drafted in 2020, I have never been given any indication that the Chiefs actually think he's an NFL player, other than the fact that they drafted him. Like, the first thing we heard about Lucas Niang was, wow, he's overweight, huh? That stuff comes from teams. And then last offseason, dang, he's overweight, huh? Not great.
Yeah, I think
if
an O lineman falls, or they have a chance to get up and get him, then I am for that. They have a lot of options as long as they don't take, a corner or a linebacker with their first pick. That's really, or a running back. Where does Bijan go? Oh, I can't wait
26.
to see where he's going.
Dallas.
You think?
I think it's Dallas. It just makes
There's some people
much
think he's
sense.
going as high as 8.
And if that happens, the Falcons get what they deserve.
Holy cow, that's
They get what
crazy.
they deserve.
100%, Brendan. I'm right there with you.
Crazy. It really, really is. Alrighty, Brendan, we will talk to you at 3 o'clock.
Talk to you at 3.
Coming up, we will get to the AFC West draft class. Mic'd up with Jake and Fulton on this Tuesday. We appreciate you stopping by. We got Royals baseball coming up tonight. Brady Singer toeing the bump. We'll see if the Royals can get on the winning side of things. 8 o'clock pregame coverage. 8:40 first pitch. Got kind of a day game tomorrow. It is a day game.
Got an afternoon game
in Arizona, but it's a 2:40 first pitch, which means 2 o'clock pregame coverage here on Mic'd Up. So we'll have a 2-hour show tomorrow before we hand it off to the Royals Radio Network as they try to avoid the sweep tomorrow.
You're just already assuming.
Did you see what I did there? Did you see what I did there?
Buddy, that's where I'm at.
Come Monday, I'm going to have to get you something on Monday.
Jake, I have to just tell you this now. If they only get one win this stretch, like whether it comes today or maybe they steal one against Minnesota, if we come to this show on Monday and they've basically won like 3 games in the past 2 weeks, let's say they won that Saturday game and they, win like let's say they won that Saturday game, they win tonight and like they steal one from Minnesota on like Saturday.
So they lose every series and they go 1 and what is that?
It's really bad.
Yeah.
The answer is really bad. If we're staring at that, I'll be here Monday. I know,
but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you a gift.
Okay.
I'm going to get you a gift. I'm going to get you something.
Okay.
So cheer you up. Okay. They say money can't buy happiness. No, money buys stuff that can make you happy.
Depending on where you are at on the social ladder, money very much can buy happiness because it can solve some of your problems.
Yeah, money can buy stuff.
Yeah.
Like what's his name said, money can't buy happiness, but it can buy me a boat. It can buy me a truck to pull it.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember who sings that song.
I don't know.
Is that a Jake Owen song?
No.
Hold on. I think it's a Jake Owen song.
No, that's not. No, it's not.
Hold on. Chris Jansen. That's
I've seen him in concert. That dude's great. Hey, Chris Jansen, great in concert.
Chris Jansen's good, yeah.
Yeah, great in concert. Saw him down in Dallas at the Arlington.
Okay.
Yeah, the old Arlington, like the good one, not the box with a roof. Anyways, we got a little odds makers.
Get slightly back on track here.
A little odds makers, all of that. So we got a lot to discuss on this edition of Mic'd Up. Hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429. All righty, Fulton. We've talked about the Chiefs plenty.
We have.
But we're going to talk about the AFC West. All right. Is there a draft that you go, damn, I sure hope they don't get this guy? Okay. That's what I am interested in. And I'm not worried at all about the Broncos because the Broncos, their first pick is pick number 67.
Yeah, it's 3rd round pick.
Yeah. And technically they have 2 third round picks. They have pick 67 and 68.
Good for them.
Okay. So we're not even going to discuss the Denver Broncos because they're not going to be trading up because they have no picks whatsoever. In fact, they have pick 67, 68, 108, and 139. So they ain't moving up at all.
No.
Okay. So congratulations, Denver. Pick 67. Here we go. If they get, we'll do Denver real fast. Okay. If Marvin Mims falls to them at pick 67, I will be very upset.
Okay, that's fair.
Someone of that nature. If a second round guy falls to them at pick 67 or 68, I will be upset. Okay. I really, really will.
I'm about with you on that train. They pick so late and they have other issues that I don't think any of their biggest flaws are solved by draftable players. That I really don't care what they do. Nothing they could draft would really change my opinion.
Okay.
Whereas the Raiders and Chargers, there are things they could do that maybe shuffle my opinion a bit.
Alrighty, the Raiders pick 7th.
The Raiders.
What picks, if the Raiders are on the clock, you would be you go, damn, that's a good pick by the Raiders.
I have a twofold reason for where I'm at for what will make me go, damn, the Raiders did a thing I didn't want them to do. And the reasoning is twofold. I would like them to not pick either Christian Gonzalez or Devon Witherspoon, the two best corners in this draft, who both could be top 10 picks.
Really?
I have a twofold reason for that. One is they're both really good players. Like, they are legit, could be lockdown island corners, which I don't want any team in the division to have that against the Chiefs, because then it makes passing the ball harder, you know?
Okay.
So that's so fed. But the other part is the twofold is this. It means the Raiders are drafting with a brain now. Like, it would mean the Raiders are drafting intelligently, which they haven't done for like 8 years.
Okay.
That's my like second part to it. Because like if they draft a defensive back, because maybe one of the safeties for some reason sneaks up. Because that's what, like, we can all agree, like, that's one of their biggest holes is defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's our entire thing is like, you know, Raiders, I don't care what you do on offense, you can't stop anybody. If they start addressing that early in the draft, then I'm like, man, their leadership up top now recognizes something and they're drafting smarter. And that's why I don't, like, I would love for the Raiders to draft Will Levis. Please draft Will Levis. Because one, I don't think Will Levis is going to be that great of a quarterback.
Okay, I'm with
you.
I
think he's only high on draft boards because he is tall and he's got a big arm. Cool. You also the same thing about Paxton Lynch. Like, I'm not high on Will Levis. And two, all right, cool. Then why did you sign Jimmy Garoppolo?
Okay.
Like, all right, Will Levis is going to learn behind Jimmy Garoppolo.
Well, it's more so that that's a stopgap. Because
it is,
hold on, because Jimmy Garoppolo's contract.
Yeah, let's look at, and that might change my opinion a tiny bit there.
Jimmy G
is it basically a 1 year?
It is.
Good friend Jimmy Garoppolo.
You're eating 18 mil. So no, I think it's a 2-year plan here. I don't see them
like
eating
Geno Smith's contract with the way it's fully designed makes sense if Seattle had a quarterback fall to them for Seattle to take a QB.
Okay.
Because you could realistically have them learn under Geno for a year and get out of it.
18 million, that's a lot.
Like, because like you know, Seattle eats like I think 17 million if they cut Geno after this year, but they save like 15.
Yeah, they're only saving 10
they're
here.
saving 10.
Yeah.
So like that's where I go of like, if they draft a quarterback, I still go, you guys are they're not doing things. Like for me with the Raiders, it comes down to half of it is about the player going on the roster. The other half is, are they going to start being run like a real football team?
For me,
that's where I go with Las Vegas.
For me, the thing that I don't want the Raiders to do has nothing to do with the Raiders. I don't want the 6 teams in front of them to take other players. I don't want the Raiders to get either Jalen Carter or Will Anderson.
You don't want one of those guys to fall aside.
Because then it becomes like, oh gosh, who do we take? Oh, you take one of those 2 guys, you know? It's kind of like, I remember when John Elway, the only good drafted player he ever drafted was Von Miller. And they're like, well, he drafted Von Miller.
It's like, well, no, duh.
Von Miller, he didn't go number 1. Therefore, Denver was like, oh,
he's right there. Got to do it.
We'll take Von Miller. You know what I mean?
No, you're getting credit for doing the most like no-brainer thing ever.
It's like, oh, hey, way to go, Jake. You're not beating your wife. Good job.
It's like, no, that's just what you do.
Yeah.
No, I get
that's
you.
What as long as Jalen Carter or Will Anderson or Tyree Wilson don't fall to the Raiders, I'm happy, because the one thing that you can do against Mahomes is get pressure.
Yeah, if you can rush the passer, if you can rush Mahomes with 4.
Yeah.
Like the Chargers have shown it. The Chargers are, I think, the best example of it. No, I get you there. I'm with that. And for me, they went circle back to my simple idea. I'm just like, and I think it's, I that's so dependent on other things as well. But I think I'm with you on that. I don't want to see signs that the Raiders are being smart with their time anymore. Like what's helped Vegas stay so bad is they don't do smart things.
Correct.
And
So-
if they drafted, if they had one of those fall to them,
Yeah.
or
It
in
has
my
nothing to do
scenario,
with the
they're
Raiders.
yeah. Or if for me, they're like, oh, all the those guys are gone, but it's like, well, we do need secondary help, and they
Yeah.
get it. I'm like, well, now you guys are actually using your brains, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
I don't. They might go wide receiver.
Please do.
They might.
Do it. Please, Vegas. Do it. Do it.
And that would scream to me a Vegas move because you've got Devontae Adams,
Best wide receiver in football.
second best wide receiver in football.
Who you have no more?
Justin Jefferson's the best wide receiver in the NFL right now. Justin Jefferson.
I'll hear the arguments.
So, but then you've got Devontae Adams plus Jackson Smith and Jigba. Jackson Smith and Jigba can learn from Devontae Adams. Is Hunter Renfrow still on the Raiders?
Mhm.
The Raiders?
Mhm.
You still got Renfrow in the slot. They don't have Waller
Yeah,
anymore.
Darren Waller Gonzo.
Still don't know what's going to happen with Josh Jacobs. But
Did they tag him?
They could. Yeah, they did. He hasn't signed it though.
Oh, yeah, fair.
So
fair,
I look at that one as one where it wouldn't, on paper, it would, that duo, yeah, that would be scary. The problem is they've got Jimmy G throwing to him.
Yeah. I give you now my perfect Raiders pick in that 7th spot that would cause me to chuckle and laugh to myself for maybe 5 minutes consecutively. Las Vegas Raiders select Bijan Robinson 7th overall.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I would die of
That'd be
laughter.
funny.
I would be in a catatonic state of laughter.
I don't know where Bijan's going to go.
Okay, listen, I'm team don't draft running backs in the first round, but even I'll admit an exception might be able to be made for Bijan Robinson.
No.
The problem is, that exception exists, in so many specific circumstances. Because still, it's like, you can just do other things.
Yeah.
Like, if Dallas takes him at 26, why? You have Tony Pollard. You are fine.
Yeah, you're dumb. You're dumb.
If Philly wants to take him,
No. Go draft a defensive end. Go draft a D lineman.
I mean, they should,
No,
but
what they need to do is they need to draft an offensive lineman. You just paid the cap $250 million, $180 million guaranteed.
that
Go
honestly,
draft an offensive
if
lineman.
somehow Skoronski falls to Philly, you rush that
I
card.
don't care. You take the best
I know.
offensive lineman available, whether that is Paris Johnson or Broderick Jones or the cat from Tennessee or Anton
Yeah,
Harrison
I feel you.
or DeJuan
Yeah,
Jones.
I got you.
I don't care.
Yeah, that's
by
fair.
the way, Falcons GM Terry Fontenot about
Fun name.
projecting the NFL draft this year. Quote, "This is the most uncertain it has been, in my opinion."
I'm with you on that there, Tear.
To what Ian Rappaport then tweeted, in years.
Yeah.
Years. All right, now let's go to the Chargers. Chargers take pick number 21. Who would you say if the Chargers draft, you go, damn.
This is partly because I love the player. This is also because you put him on this team, I start going, crap.
Okay.
It's Dalton Kincaid.
Dalton Kincaid?
You give Justin Herbert a real tight end, and you get competent play calling. Oh, boy. Because Herbert's the real deal under center. They have, Keenan Allen on the outside, good player. Mike Williams on the outside, good player. You add Dalton Kincaid over the middle to really open things up in that offense. Man, that's a headache. That is an absolute headache waiting to happen. I've used from a Chiefs perspective. You're telling me I got to ask Nick Bolton and Willie Gay to cover Dalton Kincaid twice a year? And even with Drew Tranquil this year, I got to ask Drew Tranquil to cover Dalton Kincaid this year. That's not fun, man. That's not a fun time. I think adding Kincaid to that Chargers offense I think it's a perfect fit for them to take a tight end. I think that's what they do need because Gerald Everett ain't that guy.
You're not that guy, pal.
One of Jake's favorite phrases, you're not that guy, pal.
You know where I got that from, right?
You'll tell me and I'll know.
It's that one guy.
I don't, off the top of my head, I can't pull it.
It's the one guy in the grocery store who wanted to fight people.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
some guy came up to him.
Yes.
And he looked at him and goes, "You're not that guy, pal." You're not
I
that
now
guy.
do remember. Yeah.
You're not that guy, pal.
So nonetheless, like I think the Chargers really could use a tight end in this draft, and given how it's shaking out, I honestly think they'll take one. But if it's Dalton Kincaid, that's just partly because I want him on my favorite football team, but also I just think it will fit so well with that Chargers offense that it makes them a bigger threat. Because I think their defense will be fine, even with other things there and things they can do. But if they do that, I think you can just take that extra step in what they do offensively. That Chargers become a real legit threat to the AFC West with Kincaid, because then it's like, man, they can actually probably run like a real legit, real person offense.
The Chargers can go a lot of different ways. They need help at defensive back. They need help a lot of places. I don't think they're gonna go edge because of Khalil Mack.
They got Mack and Bosa. They're fine for right now.
To me, the Chargers can go a lot of different ways. Could they take a Brian Branch out of Alabama, of that nature? Deontay Banks out of Maryland, I think is a good spot for them. Because if they feel like, hey, we got Williams, we've got Allen, we've got Herbert, our offense is good, we got to slow down maybe some other teams, and you go Deontay Banks out of Maryland. But to me, the worst case scenario is if a Paris Johnson, a Broderick Jones, or to a point, those are the main two, because the top three tackles go Skoronski, Paris Johnson, Broderick Jones. If one of those three, more so Paris Johnson or probably Broderick Jones, if he falls there,
that's a problem.
Now you've got
the Chargers an actual offensive line.
You've got your left tackle in Slater. And then you got now your right tackle in Jones. You feel good about that. They like Lindsley at center.
They just got to shore up your guards, which, I mean, there's spots they could go mid, late rounds, short guard.
That is one where I would go, because the way that the Chiefs were able to take down the Chargers is they got pressure on Herbert.
And if they were able to, that's a good point. I didn't think about that enough. I didn't think about it. There's another spot for Chargers too. I like the Chargers are the only team I actually care about what they do, because they're, to me, is the most realistic threat to the Chiefs in the AFC West, and they're run semi-intelligently enough to be a problem. Other part is, man, if they got a good enough defensive tackle in this draft, they haven't been able to do anything up the middle. The problem is where they sit. It's not like Brian Breezy is good.
See, I'm not
worried about it.
Well, he'll be there if they want. To me, the one, if you're really high on the Cansey,
Kalijah Cansey.
If you think Cansey is a good spot there.
And my thing with defensive tackle for the Chargers is, if there's been a weak spot for years for the Chargers, it's up the middle on that, especially the defensive line, because they can't stop anybody. So if they start shoring that up a little bit too, but outside of tight end, I'm with you. I think if they also short up the offensive line with one of those tackles falling to them, that would also be a bit of a problem, because, I mean, Chargers offensive line's been bad for forever. Them shoring up their offense is my number one worry of where, depending on who they could get at that spot, because I think that's what makes them more dangerous than anything. Because the Chiefs have even shown against top defenses, they find a way. But Chiefs defense being young, trying to get better, you pair a really good quarterback with some good weapons, or you just give him protection, that is a problem.
So if the Chargers, because they pick 54, okay?
Yeah.
I wonder if you end up taking, offensive lineman Broderick Jones, and he falls to the Chargers at 54, and you're like, wow, they got their offensive lineman. And then at pick number 54, they take Akili Ringo at corner.
Yeah.
That to me would be like
I don't think they're going to go corner.
I think they can. I think
they feel confident in J.C. Jackson and Asante Samuel Jr.
I don't know if, they spent a ton of money.
They spent so much money on J.C. Jackson. You ain't moving on after 1 year that was injury riddled.
You still need more of them, but I think they could go that way.
Some depth could help,
and that's where I look at.
I mean, you got Derwin James, you have Asante Samuel Jr., you have J.C. Jackson. That's my only thought on if they'll go defensive back that high. But I also do get the idea of, they would want to shore that up for sure. Especially because, everything an AFC West team does is to beat Kansas City.
Yeah.
Like that's not a Chiefs-centric homerish opinion. That is that's just what you do. You gear up to not only take down the best team in your conference, you always try to take out the best team in your division. And for the AFC West, that answer just happens to be the exact same answer.
Yeah. The Chargers are kind of built like the Chiefs right now, where they could go offensive line, they could go defensive line, they could go defensive back. And as long as you fill one of those three needs, offensive line, defensive back, offensive line, and then corner.
Yeah.
I think you'd be, if they go, Kincaid at offensive line and then take like Cody Mock in the second round.
Oh boy,
that's a good one.
Or
Or
if they do that first as their first 2 picks, Chargers, you got yourself a good start.
Or you flip it and someone like Jalen Hyatt falls to them. Maybe they're a lot like the Chiefs. Whereas the Broncos, they don't pick till
they're so late.
Yes.
It's just you got to hope that some things above you really panned out, or you just got to draft some diamonds in the rough.
Correct.
Which is hard to do.
And then the Raiders, they're just I don't think they're the Raiders. And until the Raiders actually do things competently, and I don't think they will until they get a new head coach, because I don't think Josh McDaniels, he's not that guy. All right, he's not that guy.
Not.
So they got so many holes, and their quarterback as of right now is Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, if the Raiders take like Anthony Richardson, that would be interesting, because then we're talking that's a wild card. Complete wild card.
Yeah.
I don't if because of who they got at head coach and how the whole organization is, it'll be a good pick, because therefore Anthony Richardson will not be any good because of setting, because of where you go. That is so important, is where you go in your setting. Just look at last year. Trevor Lawrence, his first year as a rookie, he got Urban Meyer. It was a disaster. But the setting and the situation changed when they brought in Doug Peterson. Completely different deal. Look at a lot of different spots, Even if you think Daniel Jones is not the dude, look what happened when you put him with a good head coach in Brian Daboll. Where you go matters. It really, really does.
Yeah.
And so that's
true.
why
That is true.
If Anthony Richardson went to,
if he goes to Vegas, I'm sorry, buddy.
Yeah. But if he goes to,
let's say he goes to Seattle. Let's say somehow he falls properly to Seattle. I'm not saying he will, but let's just say he does.
Or
he
could go to a lot of different spots.
Yeah.
Like, if he goes to Seattle, I don't know if that's the greatest spot to be in.
That's fair.
Because you've got, Pete Carroll, older guy.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But
I feel you.
If he would fall to a team that has an offensive mind and has got talent, like honestly, the perfect example is if Anthony Richardson falls to the Vikings.
That's a great spot for him.
Because then you got an offensive minded coach. You've got guys that you can throw to.
Yeah.
That would be
and more importantly, without a shadow of a doubt, you can sit for a year.
Yeah.
Because Kirk will play for that entire year. Right. Honestly, if he falls to Minnesota for the first round, I really think the Vikings should take him.
Oh, it's
the Kirk.
Who knows?
I mean, Kirk is probably gone after this year. You need to start thinking for life after Kirk.
Is he?
If it's not this year, it's next year.
Kirk Cousins, his contract is he done after this year.
Yeah.
It's all void.
It's all void years after this year.
After that, yeah.
So that's where I'm like, if Anthony Richardson fell to them late first, grab him. You'd have the 5th-year option if he plays well. He sits this year under Kirk, and then next year he's thrown to Justin Jefferson.
Yep.
DJ Hawkinson. Like, that's a good spot for him. I don't know if he'll last that far because the upside is so high. I think someone's going to go early on him.
Yep.
But if you're Minnesota and you get that lucky.
Yeah. It's just a $12 million dead cap. That's it.
Yep.
So that's kind of the AFC West. The Chargers are interesting. The Broncos, just because they don't pick at all.
And then do the Raiders have a brain now?
What do the Raiders do? It's interesting. Coming up next, we got a little odds makers here on Mic'd Up. Time for a little odds makers. The Royals sit at 5-18 after 23 games. Fulton. What are the odds the Royals lose 100 games? Give everybody the back.
Yeah, let's recap the chart.
Week 1 was
5%.
Week 2,
3.
Week 3,
1.
Week 4,
2.
Are we at week 5 right now?
We're on week 6.
Okay,
week 6 is doing this exercise.
Week
5 was 5%.
Back to 5%.
We're at 5.
Okay.
We've hit our high water mark of 5%.
Where we started 5%.
Yes. So we've
Dip
written
down.
the graph has made a little U. We have our dip.
Yep. All
We
right.
haven't had a full rise yet.
Week 6, the Royals percentage and odds of losing 100 games are
The rise is here, 9%.
9%.
I'm trying to not be reactionary and have these make gigantic leaps because that's just that skews data. Trying to be reactionary, look at it in the proper way. That there is so much baseball left to be played.
Okay.
Like we have not even finished the first month. We're about to finish the first month. But we haven't even finished the first month. There is so much baseball left to be played. I still cannot confident as down as I am on this team. Because, man, do I think it's bad right now. In theory, though, give it more time. Maybe Daniel Lynch, when he comes back, he's fixed and he's good. There's a fifth starter. Maybe starting tonight, Brady Singer is not as elite as he was last year, but he knows what a strike zone is properly and doesn't throw it right down the pipe. Maybe somebody comes up and Brad Keller can take a long walk back to the bullpen, or he learns what a strike zone is.
You ready? Maybe things continue the way they're going.
That's also possible.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, I've tried to balance this exercise of not getting so...
does it work for everybody else? No, but maybe for us it
because
will.
I don't want to be so reactionary, like, oh, they're 5 and whatever right now, so there's a 60% chance to lose 100 games. It's too early to be that convicted. But if things keep going this way, this number's going to keep going up.
Alrighty. From the text line, I don't see any way they can come up to 500 this season. Do
No
you
chance.
think somehow they amass plus 13 stretch starting today? I don't see it. What are the odds that they play 500 baseball? No, like end the record 81 or just 80 wins.
80 wins?
80 wins.
Put about 8 zeros in front of this, and then you can put a 1. Point like 0.0000000000001%.
Okay. The answer we were looking for
because there's never until mathematically it's there's never a non-zero chance. But where as close to non-zero as non-zero can be.
See, this is where you and I differ. There's a 0% chance. They are not making...
For playing a game of odds and math, I'm going to go by the math that tells me, because they have not lost 82, they have not lost 83 games yet. They can technically still get to 80.
See, in the mathematical world,
which is the game we're playing,
what you just said, they would call that 0%. Because it's so far of an outlier that you're talking about that a true mathematician would
we need to get a mathematician on the show for this segment.
That does not count.
Mathematicians out there, hit us up to see if Jake is correct that you would call this a non-zero chance. Or 0% chance.
Yeah, 0. Sorry. Because what it is the bell curve, right?
Mm-hmm.
The standard bell curve.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't even put that as an outlier.
Yeah,
an outlier would be like 75 games right now.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah, well, yeah, you did. You said that no.
Well, okay, I'm disagreeing since you can't say this is 0% chance, because there is, in the world of numbers, a spot on the radar here where they could get to 80 wins.
And I'm telling you, if we brought in a math guru,
we should find one. We need to find a math professor.
They would say no, because that's so far and away that even we don't count the Lloyd Christmas 1 in a million talk. That does not factor into mathematicans.
Because we need to get a mathematician on here to answer this question.
Well, next time we have Eric Eager on, we'll
next time we have Eric, let's ask Eric. Yeah, Eric's the
he's
Eric
a math guy. He's a math guy.
They're not winning 80 games. Like, no.
Okay.
If you thought no, there's no chance. Not a singular one. Since it is NFL draft week, Jake, what are the odds Hendon Hooker gets drafted in the first round?
Ooh, great question.
Because that's been so much traction. What do you think the odds are Hendon Hooker is a first round pick?
30%.
Okay.
I don't think he is. I don't think he will. I think there's too much question marks. I'm going to say 30% he goes in the first round. Yeah,
I'm willing to go to like 35. Because I think someone might get desperate, or someone just might feel a little differently. But I mean, a 25-year-old quarterback who played in a not great preparing you for the NFL system, coming off an ACL tear, just doesn't feel great. But the hot topic lately, someone in the first round might take him. Someone in the first round might grab him.
No, I don't think so. I'm actually going to lean like 25% now.
Oh, wow. It's going down.
Yeah.
Jake doesn't believe the rumors.
I don't think so.
I mean, that's fair. There's a lot of draft smoke around this time.
If you draft Hendon Hooker in the first round, let me update your resume in 2 years.
Brutal. Accurate, but brutal.
By the way, Panthers head coach Frank Reich said GM Scott Fitterer went into his office yesterday and asked him his preferred QB to take with the number 1 overall pick. It was kind of like a proposal, and I said, yes, we have a consensus. We are excited. So according to the Panthers, they know who the top pick is going to be. I sure would.
I'm glad
hope
they know
so,
by now.
because you traded your future to
They
get.
should have known when they traded.
Yeah, they traded up to get to number one.
Yeah.
So therefore, there shouldn't be a we don't know. They know, and they should know right away that they're right now looking at, okay, who are we going to take with our second round pick, and do we trade up into the first round?
Yeah,
they're not, because they don't have any damn picks.
Yeah, they traded a king's ransom to get to 1.
In fact, Carolina, they pick 139.93. So actually, they do have more picks than I thought. 139 and 93. Yeah, they're taking. So Chicago got moved down to pick number 9. That's right. Yeah, we know who they're taking.
Yeah, they're taking Bryce Young
or Will Levis.
If they take Will Levis, I swear.
And that guy really does know Will Levis.
1, that guy might actually know what he's talking about. 2, someone should go, there should be protests outside of the Panthers facility. It's going to be the reverse of Manning Ryan Leaf.
What are the odds that Andy Reid is wearing a Hawaiian shirt?
99%. I'll leave the 1% chance that Brett tells me he needs to look more professional.
You think Brett Veach's gonna
I
tell
don't
Andy
think
Reid
so.
what he's gonna do?
I don't think he will, but I'm leaving the window open. Now, Andy Reid is going to pull out his best Tommy Bahama for the draft. His best Tommy Bahama. His best red Tommy Bahama.
What shirt did Andy Reid wear last year?
I don't know. Did we even get a visual shot of him last year?
Oh, of course we did.
Oh, yeah, because they usually do cut-ins to draft rooms. I mean, that man wears Tommy Bahama shirts to owners' meetings.
Yeah, of course.
So I have to imagine he'll still Andy has reached the talent and age level where no one can tell him what he needs to dress like for events. Andy is doing what Andy wants to do. He's a 2-time Super Bowl winning coach and one of the best coaches of all time. He gets to do whatever he wants to do.
The answer is 100%.
I'm reserving the 1 for Fandy decides to bust something else out of the closet.
0 chance of that happening.
But you never know.
Coming up next, we will take a peek at the Aaron Rodgers to the Jets trade and how does that stack up for the AFC West. And Jets will now play what? Monday night or Sunday night?
Is it? Let's go Sunday. That was my waffle noise. Let's go Sunday.
Sunday football?
Sunday night.
Yeah.
Is that a Kansas City game or a Meadowlands game?
That's in the Meadowlands.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in New York. Well,
New Jersey.
New Jersey. But they're called the New York Giants. Anyway.
That's, again, my usual reminder, all the proof you need that it does not matter where the team's stadium is. They'll be called whatever they want to be called. Because everyone, like, all the reports of the Bears moving to, like, Arlington Heights or whatever the hell it is.
See,
and everyone's like, oh, you're going to call them the Arlington Heights Bears? No, dude, like, half the teams in the NFL don't play in the city they're named after.
But the difference is they're at least playing in the same state and they're named after the state. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're not even playing in New York State. They're playing in New Jersey.
Yeah. No, I know. I agree.
You know?
Yeah. But that's just my overall point of, like, where a team plays does not have any bearing on its team name.
I think it's even more egregious what they're doing.
Oh, no, I agree. Yeah, it's very stupid that the New York Jets and the New York Giants play in New Jersey.
Yes. Like,
and I don't care that East Rutherford is just barely across the line.
No,
and so for all intents and purposes, the state taxes it follows is the state of New Jersey.
That would be like saying if the Chiefs were named the Missouri Chiefs and they played on the state of Kansas. That's dumb.
Yeah. No,
at least the San Francisco 49ers are at least, playing in the state of California.
Yeah.
I know their name is.
Yeah, they're in Santa Clara now. Is where they play.
Yeah. But at least it's in that they're.
At least the Dallas Cowboys still play in Texas.
Yeah.
No, they play in Arlington, Texas.
They're going to play Sunday night or Monday Night Football because this will be
flexed.
This will be the first. It won't be flexed.
Well, not flexed. This times around. Yeah, I know what you mean.
This is the first time that we will
finally get Rodgers versus Mahomes.
Yes.
Until this game is played halfway through the year, Aaron Rodgers has like turf toe or something. It doesn't play, or Aaron Rodgers' chakras are misaligned, or his spirit guide tells him he needs to go on a vision quest.
Vision Quest. Have you seen Vision Quest? The movie?
No.
About a wrestler?
No.
You haven't seen Vision Quest?
I've never heard of it.
You've never heard of Vision Quest?
No.
Wow.
What the hell is Vision Quest?
Yo, that was like a 1980s cult movie, man.
What the hell is Vision Quest?
Yes, Vision Quest. The movie, 1985, yes.
What the hell is Vision Quest?
Oh, man. It's about a high school wrestler. Yeah.
Okay.
So, Vision
we're talking
Quest.
amateur wrestling, not professional wrestling. Okay.
Correct, yeah. I'll read you the little synopsis here. A high school wrestler in Spokane, Washington has trouble focusing on his training regimen when a beautiful young drifter takes up temporary residence at his home. Vision Quest. You need to watch Vision Quest.
Okay.
By the way, speaking of that, have we either gone to Brown v. Board or have we watched Die Hard?
We have not done either yet. The idea is to try and go to Brown v. Board thanks to a short show tomorrow.
Okay.
The idea is to take advantage of us getting off the air a little bit earlier. But if that cannot be accomplished, Die Hard will be watched by tomorrow night. Like, if for some reason, whatever things come doesn't work out that I can't make it out to Brown before 5 p.m. tomorrow, the idea then we just watch Die Hard Wednesday night.
You can go tomorrow at 9.
I could, but I also might go in the morning.
Yeah.
But I'm just also not a morning guy.
9 o'clock?
I'm not a morning guy.
I almost am going to be like, hey, I'll go with you. Because I haven't been in about 5 or 6 years.
You're welcome to have that. What would change whether I'm a morning guy or not?
Well, then I'm going to go with you. It's like accountability.
Yeah, no. Then accountability helps.
Like if I said, let's go tomorrow morning at 9.
I would then go, all right, fine. And I would get my butt up at 9. I would.
That's not the point of this exercise. You need to have the self-control to go do it.
Yeah.
But I do need to go back again.
Yeah.
My wife went just the other day for it was something to do with.
I did look up how their little exhibits are set up. They have sessions on if you guide yourself through what you should do. Like I know what I'm doing once I get there.
Nice.
It's making the time, and which I will. Like my goal is to try to get it in tomorrow. But if for some reason it doesn't happen, Thursday we'll have the ability to talk about either one of the two things.
I like it. Is the AFC East toughest division now?
I don't know.
The answer is yes.
It enters the conversation.
I think the toughest division is the AFC East.
Okay.
And if Lamar plays for the Ravens, which I think he will, then the second toughest division is the AFC North with Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh last year had a winning record.
I will never doubt Mike Tomlin again. I apologize, Mike Tomlin.
I told you.
I will never doubt you again.
And then you got Cleveland.
My second favorite coach in the NFL.
You got Cleveland, Cincy, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh. So I think that's the second toughest division.
Okay. I feel it.
After the reason why I think that's the second toughest is because I think the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Bills are pretty good. I'm gonna go with that one's gonna be the toughest division.
I can feel it.
Second division is going to be the AFC North. And then I would probably go. I'd probably go AFC West because I do think the Chargers, the Chiefs, and if the Broncos get it figured out. So I think three of the toughest divisions are in the AFC. Toughest division in the NFC is probably the East with the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Giants. Maybe that would supplant the AFC West.
Yeah. The NFC East is definitely the toughest in the NFC.
Yeah.
Because,
I don't think the Rams are going to be in the mix anymore.
No.
I don't think the Cardinals are. So you just have two teams in Seattle and
in the
49ers.
NFC South, is quarterback hell.
That's
and
the
then
worst
the
division.
NFC North, I don't know how really I feel about some of those teams.
I think it's a bad team there too. Yeah.
But the NFC East, Giants, Giants showed you they can play some winning football. They can. The Cowboys have the talent to be a winning football team. The Eagles should be as good, if not better than they were last year. The Commanders were sneaky competitive last year. And depending on what they do, the Commanders are a sneaky team. And remember, the Commanders beat the Eagles last year. That's an interesting team there. But I can give you the AFC East because those three teams at the top are also good. Like I said, even washed up Aaron Rodgers makes the Jets a lot better. It makes them probably at least a floor of a 10-win team. So
coming up next, we'll wrap things up with the mic drop. What do you got?
Brady Singer, please instill some faith back into me. Please.
Big 12 Golf Championship happening at Prairie Dunes here in Kansas, down in Hutch. Texas Tech golfer Ludwig Aberg shot a 63 today in windy and cold conditions at Prairie Dunes. If that was a north wind there, that's stupid. 63 from the tips? He was 7 shots better than anyone today. That's
Good for him.
Stupid. Wow. Coming up, we got 580 Sports Talk. We'll talk to you tomorrow at noon.